If you think you've seen it all, just wait until you get to know this country. Here, people walk into a room completely naked, in absolute silence, and think it's the most normal thing in the world. And no, this isn't some secret ritual. It's just the Finnish sauna. And that's just the beginning. In Finland, you can leave your cell phone on a table in the middle of the street and no one will steal it. But try to strike up a conversation with a stranger on the bus and they'll look at you as if you've committed a crime. And there's more. Want to live here? Then forget about personalizing your house. Because even to change a door, you need permission. What is freedom? What is tradition? There are beautiful women here, but the cold is so intense it freezes your balls and your striker shrinks. Today, you're going to find out everything about Finland. And at the end, you'll tell me if you could live here or if you'd run away at the first winter. 1. First impressions and Finnish culture. Well, so you arrive in Finland all excited, thinking you'll be greeted with warm smiles. Good morning on the street. People striking up conversations on the bus. Poor you. Finns are known for being discreet, shy, and straight to the point. This means that if you try to start a random conversation in the supermarket line, they'll probably look at you as if you just confessed to a heinous crime. Now, hold on a second. That doesn't mean they're rude. Quite the opposite, actually. They just have a very simple motto. If you don't have anything absolutely necessary to say, then for the love of God, keep quiet. Here, talking too much isn't just inconvenient, it's practically an offense. Want to test it? Get into an elevator with a Finn and try to make small talk about the weather. He'd rather stare into infinity than answer you. But here's the paradox. Despite this everyone in their own corner vibe, Finland is one of the most honest countries in the world, so much so that you find stands selling flowers with no one watching over them. Yes, you just scan a QR code, pay online, and leave with your bouquet. Now imagine that in Brazil, people would end up taking the whole stand. 2. How do Finns live? Now that we've already established that Finns aren't much for small talk, let's talk about where and how they live. And let me tell you in advance, if you think you can just move here and decorate your house however you want, you have no idea, my friend. In Finland, everything has a rule, even your front door. Yes, you heard that right. If you want to change your apartment door, you first need to ask for permission from the building management. And do you want to know the answer? It's probably going to be a no. The mentality is simple. If that door has been there for 100 years, it's going to stay there for another 100, whether you like it or not. It's the love for the Finnish standard. Organization, tradition, and no unnecessary frills. But speaking of prices, living in Finland isn't cheap, but it's not completely outrageous either, at least compared to other European countries. In Helsinki, the capital, apartment rent ranges from 800 to 1,000 euros. But hold on. Before you start freaking out, let me tell you what's included in that price. Heating, because nobody deserves to freeze inside their own home. Water and electricity, essential for taking a hot shower without an existential crisis. Shared laundry room, so you don't have to spend money on a washing machine. Building gym, which means no excuses for not working out. Community room, a shared space where people can cook and socialize if a Finn decides to talk to you, of course. And if you need anything, just call the building management. Need a new gas cylinder? They bring it right away. Want to change the refrigerator? No problem, as long as it's exactly the same as the previous one. But the best part, without a doubt, is the sauna. Because in Finland, every building has a communal sauna. Just imagine, you meet an amazing Finnish blonde in the sauna. Feels like a movie scene, right? The problem is, nobody talks in the sauna. Absolute silence is practically a sacred law. So the only thing you need to worry about isn't making conversation, but making sure your towel doesn't fall near a 2-meter-tall blonde guy with blue eyes. Three, work and education. Do you think this is the paradise of million-euro salaries and easy jobs? Hold your excitement, champ. Starting with salaries, a lifeguard in Finland earns about 2,000 euros a month. 2,000 euros. Sounds good, right? But remember that €1,000 rent we just talked about? Yeah, half your salary is already gone just so you don't have to sleep on the street. And if you think you can do well and earn more, I have good news and bad news. Good news. Yes, you can earn a lot more. Bad news. The government is keeping an eye on your wallet. Here, taxes are progressive, meaning the more you earn, the more you pay. Got yourself a fat paycheck? The Finnish government comes for its share, knife and fork in hand. Want an example? If you make €10,000 a month, almost half of it is gone straight into Uncle Government's pocket. The logic is simple. No one can get too rich, because here, the game is for everyone to stay around the average. In other words, you can forget about that dream of becoming the next Elon Musk of Finland, unless you're into sharing your money with everyone else. Now, yes, this is where things get serious. Finland has one of the best educational systems on the planet. Basic education is free and mandatory for 9 years, and people actually learn. Forget about memorizing everything just to forget it later. Here, the focus isn't on cramming your head with formulas. No one uses about truly learning. And there's more. There's no insanely competitive college entrance exam that drives everyone crazy. The Finnish educational system isn't a school battleground where only the strongest survive. It's more about learning at your own pace, without insane pressure. Now, the most shocking detail. Being a teacher here is a VIP profession. Being a teacher in Finland is like being a soccer player in Brazil. Respected, well paid, and hard to make the team. The government makes sure that only the best of the best become teachers. In short, if you want to study in a top-notch place, Finland is the place to be. But if your goal is to get rich working here, well, you'll have to share it with the government. So, are you surprised by Finland? And that's not even the craziest part. We haven't even gotten to the naked sauna yet. But before we continue, do this. Subscribe to the channel and send this video to that friend who dreams of living in Europe, or to that friend of yours who loves paying taxes. I want to see if they'll still be excited after what I'm about to tell you. And take the opportunity to comment here. Could you live in a country like this, or would you already be crying at the first 50% tax? 4. The climate and the seasons. Now let's talk about a small detail regarding Finland. The climate. And when I say small detail, I mean the reason why half the people who move here seriously consider running away after just one winter. Here, the climate operates in hardcore mode. In winter, you get only a few hours of sunlight per day if you're lucky. Temperatures that make your soul reconsider your life choices. And that snow that looks pretty until you have to walk outside and realize you've turned into a sliding penguin. The worst part isn't the cold itself, but the darkness. In some parts of Finland during the peak of winter, the sun barely shows up. You wake up in the dark, have lunch in the dark, and just when you think the day is starting, it's night again. It's what you call vampire mode activated. Now, summer. Oh, my friend, that's a whole other extreme. If in winter the sun disappears, in summer it decides to get revenge and never goes away. Want to sleep? That's your problem, because at 2 in the morning it's still bright out. And guess what? The Finns love it. That's when the whole country wakes up from hibernation and turns into one big outdoor festival. Beach, barbecues, parties, people smiling. Yes, they actually smile in the summer. It's like someone hit the reset button on everyone. Suddenly, everyone starts living as if the world were going to end in 2 months. But you know what's even more curious? Even with this insane contrast, Finns just accept it. Complain about the weather? Never. Here you learn that there's no such thing as bad weather, only the wrong clothes. If it's minus 25 degrees, you just put on another layer and get on with life. If the sun's out all day, you'd better make the most of it and put on your thong bikini, because soon enough, it's back to Game of Thrones mode again. Now tell me, would you survive this pace? Or would you already be searching for a one-way ticket to Brazil after your first winter? And speaking of happiness, is Finland really the happiest country in the world? 5. The hidden side of happiness. Have you ever heard that Finland is the happiest country in the world? That's right, they've been stacking up trophies in this ranking for years. But my friend, don't be fooled. If you think Finns are out there dancing in the streets, giving random hugs, and smiling like they've just won the lottery, I'm sorry to tell you, but your expectations are more deflated than a bike tire on a dirt road. The truth is, this happiness ranking doesn't measure how cheerful and lively people are, but rather how stable the country is. In other words, the government works. No rampant corruption, no parliamentary inquiries every month, or campaign promises that vanish into thin air. The healthcare system is efficient. Got sick? You don't need to sell a kidney to pay the bill. Education here is high quality. No one goes into debt for decades just to get a diploma. Low social inequality. There's no such thing as a guy in a Lamborghini running over someone who's digging through the trash for food. Does that mean everyone in Finland walks around beaming with happiness? No. In reality, the country has high rates of depression and alcoholism. Many Finns feel lonely, especially in winter, when the day gets dark faster than an old phone running out of battery. You leave home in the morning and by the time you blink, it's night again. If it depended on the weather, even happiness would go into hibernation. And you want to know the most curious thing? If you ask a Finn if they feel happy, the answer will usually be something like so-so. Because here, happiness isn't something intense, explosive, or over the top. It's more like, I'm fine, nothing's on fire. So I guess that's good enough. In other words, Finland isn't a paradise of euphoria, but rather a place where people don't have to worry about the basics. And maybe in the end, that's the real definition of happiness. Now, whether this peace of mind is worth it or if the lack of excitement makes everything seem a bit monotonous, well, that's a matter of personal taste. Would you go for this lifestyle? Or do you prefer the Brazilian chaos for a bit of excitement? Six, cultural shocks and curiosities. If there's one thing Finland does well, besides collecting taxes and challenging people's sanity with the weather, it's having customs that make any foreigner raise an eyebrow. And I'm not talking about mild things like eating bread with sausage for breakfast. I'm talking about practices that would have your grandmother blessing you with a sprig of rue. Saunas in Finland. If you think saunas are just for fancy gyms or luxury spas, hold on to this information. In Finland, saunas are basically a constitutional right. They're everywhere: buildings, offices, police stations, and even in parliament. That's right, they make laws while steaming their balls. Now, if you're not into sweating with strangers, bad news. Here, there's no such thing as a little towel or swimwear. It's all naked in the God made me this way and that's how I'll be style. Oh, but some do have separate sections, you know. Men at one time, women at another. But the setup is the same. Once you go in, your shame stays outside. Now picture the scene. You, an innocent tourist, wanting to have the authentic experience, open the sauna door, and bam, you're face to face with a bunch of Finns looking like Thor, stark naked, sweating like crazy, drinking beer and chatting as if they were at a condo meeting. And you, trying to maintain eye contact, but not knowing where to look. A tax for being Christian. In Finland, being a Christian comes with an unexpected bonus, a special tax. That's right, besides your faith, you also need to have faith in your bank statement. The government charges a fee to those who are members of the Lutheran Church. Nothing too crazy, about 10 to 15 euros a month. But can you imagine that in Brazil? Tithes, offerings, and a tax? Man, that would make the Universal Church look like a Black Friday sale. You're at church, set foot in the service, automatic PIX payment activated. But hold on, if you get tired of paying, you just have to officially leave the church. Here, faith is kind of like a streaming service. If you're done, just cancel. Maybe that's why Finland has one of the lowest rates of religiosity in Europe. Because you know, when faith comes with a bill, even miracles get expensive. That kind of honesty shocks anyone. If you think Latinos are naturally suspicious, just wait until you see how much Finns trust each other. It's so surreal that nobody locks their bike, nobody suspects strangers, and there are even stores without attendants. That's right, you pick up a flower, scan a QR code, and pay by yourself. And supermarkets? There are places that don't even have cashiers. You go in, grab your things, scan them, and pay by yourself. And here's the thing, there's no one watching over you. Now, imagine that in Brazil. Man, by the second day, there wouldn't be any flowers, QR codes, or vases left. Brazilians would turn it into a pay-for-one, take 10, and get out quick situation. But over there in Finland, people simply trust each other, and the craziest part is that it actually works. Here, if I left a flower pot on the sidewalk, the old lady from the street would have already taken it and put it in her own window. There, you could just walk out of the store without paying. But guess what? Nobody does that. The fear of being dishonest is so strong that they don't even need cameras to keep watch. Finland is a true social experiment in honesty. And what about you? Do you think you'd be able to adapt, or would you already start missing the Brazilian way of doing things on your very first day? If you made it this far, comment Finland, just so I know who survived this tour. Now, seriously, living in Finland is like being in a stable relationship, safe, calm, no surprises. But sometimes it lacks a bit of excitement. Is it really worth it? Well, only you can answer that. And since you like discovering countries and cultures, click on the next video that's on the screen. That one will really make you question humanity's sanity. See you there.